My hair's a mess.
Welcome, fellow seekers of challenge and triumph, to the Suffer Sooner podcast. Join us on a journey where ordinary souls embark on extraordinary endeavors. From the relentless grind of gravel to the punishing gauntlet that is triathlon, we've tasted our fair share of suffering. So fellow endurance warriors, let's lace up our shoes, strap on our goggles, and dive headfirst into the challenge, knowing that with every step, stroke, and pedal forward, we grow stronger together. All right, guys, welcome to episode number 45, the long-awaited doping episode, I think.
Yeah. We've been talking about this one for a long time, just on our rides, our training runs, and stuff like that. I mean, this is going to be a good one.
I don't know if other people are like this, but I usually, I got to assume that it's not that I'm saying that everybody's cheating, right? Or, I guess this will lead into the next part, but the thing that pro sports is entertainment. And I think if we all approach it from that perspective, we're going to be a little bit better off than if we believe, that so-and-so is a clean athlete and, his impeccable moral character and all this stuff. The thing I always, I'm going to relate this back to hockey because one, it's one of my favorite sports, but the idea of the refs in hockey is not to call every penalty. It's basically to control and manage the chaos. And so there's an accepted level of infractions going on all the time in hockey. Mm-hmm. And the refs are there just kind of keeping a lid on it. What's the line? And then when the players cross it, that's where the refs come into play. But mostly whatever happens below the line, that's fair game. And that's kind of what I see, USADA and WADA as the governing bodies of the testing that, that the sport goes through, cycling and triathlon.
We've been reliably informed that they have a zero tolerance policy for this stuff, Travis. Zero tolerance.
Well,
but no, I mean, if you need, but if you need any evidence to what you just said though about officiating in general, and this is not about the organizations you just mentioned, but just in professional sports. I mean, listen to any professional broadcast, and football is a great example of this too. And I'm sure you hear it in hockey. Is how many times you hear the announcer say, "Oh wow, the officials are really letting them play today." Really? Because by the letter of the law, that's a penalty, or that's a foul, or so. And this is where and we're not going to get into it here today, but I have issues with a lot of professional sports because, in my opinion, like football, NFL, they make the rules so convoluted and so much gray area around boundaries of things like pass interference that they can interpret that rule any way they want on any given day to get whatever outcome they want. And I'm not saying they're doing it. I'm just saying it's possible. And when that's possible, you make it impossible for officials to always get it right. So if they want to make it so you can always get it right, they can. They just choose not to, because the problem with having absolutes is that when it goes against the narrative of the entertainment, the absolute has to rule, or else you lose integrity as a sport. Exactly. And I think that's part of the problem here. And this is where you take that down to the doping side of things. And I think exactly where you're starting to go is a lot of these organizations, they have these hard and fast rules, and they all say zero tolerance. We are zero tolerance. We don't tolerate any form of cheating in this sport.
Right.
Until a certain circumstance occurs. Right.
So that's my thing too, is just, like I say, professional sports, if people are getting paid, assume that there's a level of cheating on there that you're not able to understand. There's a whole nother game. They're playing chess, we're playing checkers.
That's right.
And so just assume that, it's there for entertainment. It's not there for the purity of the sport, all that other stuff. You want purity of the sport, go watch a 5-year-old soccer match. That's just purity of the sport. They're out there having a good time, playing each other.
Have you seen the officials at a 5-year-old soccer match, Travis? The things they let those kids get away with.
Yeah, exactly. You just that's purity of the sport. Other than that,
the worst part about that is the parents, because they're the ones that are out there yelling at the officials. I don't want to go watch a
I know.
5-year-old soccer. I would love it for the kids, but the parents are
Yeah,
intolerable.
the parents. I mean, again, it's your
Tangent.
kids. Like I tell my tell all my hockey kids is your kid's not going to be on the NHL. If he was, he would not be playing here. He would be playing on a homestay team up
Right.
in Canada or Minnesota at 13.
Yeah.
Like unless he started skating when he started walking, then he's not going to be in the NHL.
Yeah, pretty much. There's that commercial. Anyway, so let's get into the warning, because now that we're eyeball deep in it.
Okay, guys. Yeah, this is definitely the warning. If you've gotten this far and you still believe in the purity of sport and all of that other stuff, and the Olympics is the golden child of all of this stuff, please probably not listen to this episode. Just
or do
and just kind of see and engage and see what's going on.
Yeah.
I just, from doing research, this is kind of, it's not that I endorse cheating. It's kind of one of those things you kind of want to know what to look for when you're heavily invested in the sport, so that the signs and all that stuff. Yeah. So I suggest everybody go watch a fantastic Netflix movie. It's called Icarus. It's about the Sochi Olympics, and it's basically how the Russians rigged the whole system so that they could pass the doping testing in that Olympics. All for basically all of their athletes were testing dirty. They knew this. They had the ability to open the vials of urine, swap them out for clean samples of urine. They were able to get in and do unspeakable things in the name of an Olympic gold medal, which when the person wins an Olympic gold medal, it's not like they're winning $1 million prize. You're just getting kind of like recognition for your country. So it's not like there's a monetary value. It's all the governing body of the country that's pulling this. So like there's not monetary value in the fact that these guys were cheating. Like Russia didn't get, billions of dollars from for winning, all those gold medals. They got the same amount that anybody else would. It's just like there's no monetary prize. And then of course I'm a big Lance Armstrong fan. So, watch anything with Lance Armstrong in it. The program is a really good video, kind of just shows what the era of cycling was like, and that, nobody was really clean. And it was kind of like an arms race to seeing who could be the fastest and smartest. And the reason Lance, I always feels, gets the hate is kind of one of the reasons why doping's so prevalent now, is that he was the smartest one to do it. He basically didn't get caught until the very end, when he tested differently on his blood passport, which is not easy to do, but there is ways of getting around your blood passport now. So it's not even that reliable. So I just want to put that warning out there, please. If you guys, if you're interested in this stuff, I'm not saying anybody should dope. Definitely not. That's not the way to go. I'm just saying that you should be aware that it's probably happening in your local area. If not, then, keep having the blinders on.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And even if it's not happening, I mean, maybe it's not, right. To your point. I mean, keep the blinders on. I think I think this is a really important episode, even if you are, and I'll say naive, because I think you have to acknowledge that the risk, if nothing else, the risk is out there that you're going to be competing against other people that are not clean. And so, because a lot of folks pour their heart and soul into the training and into all of this, and this is why I think, the way we tend to approach this is, this is about personal gain. I try not to compare myself to others. It's always a competition against myself. But man, nothing would feel worse than taking second place in a race that you felt like you should have won, and then find out the first place had an unfair advantage. I mean, that's a pretty tough spot to be in. So, so I think it's a really important episode. And even if you really do believe that it's a pure sport out there, despite your warning, Travis, I'd encourage people to actually listen to it. And you know what, you you disagree, then let's hear it. Let's hear the argument. Because
Yeah.
I don't know that I can't tell you that I've in any event I've done, I've walked across a queer person. I'm like, yeah, that one's juiced. But the possibility is certainly there, and we've seen some results where we're sitting there scratching our head, going, "I've never seen this person before," and you're like, "Where did they come from?" You're like,
Yeah. Where did this come from?
You just search
Where have
their
you been?
yeah,
Yeah.
you're searching like past race results and their Strava history, and you're like, either they're doing some super secret training somewhere that's not getting tracked, or they just came out of nowhere. Like
Yep.
that seems pretty weird. So anyway, but
Yeah.
cool.
And so I just like again, I like to just be informed too. Like when you hear people talking about microdosing EPO or they're, doing this new protocol, again, it's kind of like, knowing before you go and idolize these guys, like everybody wants to be like Tadej Pogacar. Everybody wants to be like Sam Long. I'm not saying that these guys are doping, but I'm just saying that like,
They're elite. Yeah.
they're elite. They're elite
Mhm.
athletes, right? And there's the only difference between an elite level athlete and let's say like a very good athlete, like a Cat 1 racer or like a semi-pro triathlete is about 7%, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're taking performance enhancing drugs, I mean, you can cover that 7% and become an elite level. So I mean, that's at the top level. That's what we're talking about. At our level, heck, man, if you're better at changing a flat tire, you're probably going to beat some of it. Some of us, it's just
Sure.
like it's
Sure.
just like one of those things. I don't see it as I don't. Again, I'm not getting paid to win races. I get paid to coach people to have great experiences for the races and personal growth and overcoming hard obstacles and changing your mindset to be better at performing and that kind of stuff. So doping for me is not something I would consider. Now, if they made something that like would take away the cold that I've been having, I would definitely take that. Like I've about had enough of this
Are you on
being
like week
sick stuff.
6 now? Week 5,
My like
6,
week
8?
3 or 4. Yeah, it's almost a month of just
Mhm.
getting over one thing, getting back to training, getting hit with another thing, getting back to training, getting hit with another thing. So it's
Yeah.
just like the cycle is just horrible. So I'm just yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that's desperate for me. So, but
Travis,
you know,
before the show, Travis like, "Yeah, I'll just take whatever somebody gives me if it would get rid of this crap." So,
yeah,
yeah, I hear you.
yeah.
I hear you.
But yeah. So one thing you can do is if you care about uh your again what you're putting into your body and stuff like that, research your supplements and any kind of medications that you're taking and see if they're on a banned list or you can go to WADA's website or USADA's website and they have a list of banned substances and you can search for your thing and they can tell you in competition or out of competition. So in competition means the day of the race, basically you can't have whatever substance that you're normally taking, and then out of competition is you can have it, and then there'll be guidelines, that'll be there if you are so inclined as to basically race in a clear and or clean and fair manner or
Mhm.
whatever. If that's something that's important to you, if you don't really care, you're just taking your Flintstones multivitamin, then you're all good. Don't even worry about it. Like it's not a big deal. You have to take stuff that actually causes performance enhancing.
I hear those of us from the '80s that took those Flintstone vitamins are at least 7% better than our competition, so,
Yeah, you're definitely tougher.
definitely.
Okay, speaking of that, like I
Yeah.
saw a post the other day and they had the Flintstone vitamins and they had the purple one up and I was like, "Oh, that
Yeah.
was always my favorite." That one
Yeah.
or that like light red one. That
Yeah.
was the best.
I think the purple one was the best. It's like those, it's like when you can taste this picture. Like,
Yep.
yes. Yes.
It just brings back all that taste. You're like, ah. I mean, they never tasted great, but like if you got the purple one, you knew your day was a good
Yeah,
day.
you're good day today.
So, um, So I have some stats that I'll run down real quick, just about the clean sport. Basically, in cycling, there's about 1,000 cyclists that are tested per year in USADA and USADA and WADA, which are the governing organizations.
These are pros and amateurs.
These are just pros.
Just pros.
Those are
That's
so
about
basically 1,000 pros are
Okay.
tested every year. So as an amateur athlete, we're talking, us and stuff. About 50,000 of us are tested. But the budget for that is usually less than, 100 grand or so for these guys. So a lot of times it's these big races that get tested. So a UCI road race event, you're probably going to, if you place high enough, you're going to get tested in your age division. So basically, and there's no biological passport for these amateurs like the pros, right?
Yeah.
And a biological passport is basically they take blood samples and they compare your blood sample to blood sample to blood sample to see how it changes over time, and that can be indicative of doping over time. So basically, we're looking at maybe 0.1% of people will get caught for doping in the amateur level. And the reason I say that is because there was a 2014 study and just last year a 2024 study that they asked basically a couple thousand participants in an event whether or not they doped. About 1 in 10 said they did. And then they asked the other question, how are you 100% sure that you would pass anti-doping? And about 7 of them said yes they would. So for basically 100% that they would pass, so knowing everything that they're taking. So you're looking at anywhere from 30 to 10% are allegedly are enhanced or whatever. And like I say, like you may be unwittingly taking a blood pressure medication, and
Sure.
You're taking that for your health, and it's a banned substance. So it's it's kind of a gray area in that,
or if you go get the
situation.
You go get the good Sudafed from behind the pharmacy counter.
Yeah. You go and get, if I were to go and race tomorrow and I took the good Sudafed from behind the counter, I would feel amazing, but I would also be taking a banned substance.
I don't know why I was able to get to 250 beats per minute on my heart rate.
Yeah, exactly. I was just railed, man. Railed.
That felt strong.
So yeah, so it's one of those things that, unwittingly or wittingly you know what you're doing. So, again, I don't fault amateurs for doing this. For pros, again, when I see a pro get popped, the first thing I go is like, oh no, he got popped. I go, oh, he must have been stupid. Right. Because they have doctors behind them. They're getting tested. Like these guys know exactly what's going on. And when I hear somebody's like, oh, I must have had some tainted beef, or I must have had a tainted substance. Right. Like I just don't have very much sympathy for pros when they get caught, because you know better. Like, again,
most of them have teams around them too. I mean, that's the other thing, especially in cycling. You've got nutritionists. You've got, I mean, unless you're from just a real small budget team, maybe I can take some of that excuse.
Yeah, I could understand you get on a low budget team and then everybody's taking, max super growth protein supplement, and you're just like, well, I have to take this because that's what the team says I have to take, and you're taking it, and then you get popped because it's a tainted substance. I can understand that, but like, like when Alberto Contador got busted for clenbuterol in his beef because in the Spain it makes the beef like leaner. It's like, no, buddy, they sell beef by the pound.
Right.
Like they don't tell you like, oh, here's a lean cut of beef, so we're going to charge you more, but they still sell it by the pound, man. Usually. You don't want your cows like too leaned out.
Yeah. And I think it's tougher though. I mean, I this is where you get into, especially for the pros that are in those lower budget teams. It's like the financial pressure is there for those folks. I'm not, so like I don't condone it, but I understand when an athlete at a professional level on a lower budget team, I understand when they might succumb to the pressure. Doesn't mean that they should have any leniency. It just means I understand it. So,
Yep.
especially when you see reports like just came out this week about how some of the higher budget teams like Visma and all these, like the amount of money they're paying riders now is incredible. I mean, just a ridiculous amount of money. And it's great. I mean, it's awesome. I'm happy for them. But if you're on one of these smaller teams and you're not making that much money and you want to, yeah, I mean, that's tough. I mean, so again, at the professional level, I get it. I don't like it. I don't condone it. I understand it. Um, which goes into a whole other thing we can get into later in the discussion portion of this, but, you know, should there just be other divisions for it? And that can be a
Yep.
whole conversation too, but to sit here and from a clean perspective, I mean, from the pro level with the stats you just rattled off, I mean, and the fact that this stuff is published, it's very easy to find out what is and is not, um, allowed. Using excuses like, "Well, my mass-produced protein powder will just happen to be tainted with something," that's not gonna fly, you know?
Yeah.
Not at the pro level.
Again, like I say, when I see pros get popped for this, it's just one of those things. I'm just like,
Y
just
you know they
didn't
know.
really. Yeah, I mean, they know. It's just kind of they. Again, when you're on a testing pool, you have to tell where you're going to be every day for an
Mhm.
hour, like a couple hours,
Right.
so that they can come and test you. So either in the morning or in the evening or whatever, they have to come and test you. Now, uh, WADA gives you some leniency that you can miss a couple of tests before you're sanctioned, but US anti-doping basically sees you missing a test as you basically
You're avoiding it, so it's
yeah, you're
rightfully
avoiding
so,
it, so you're basically going to get sanctioned for it. Now, what
Mhm.
that sanction is and is dependent in the courts and stuff like that. So,
Sure.
but no agency is perfect, right? Because we just found out, this week that USADA was in a scheme against WADA's. WADA has a basically like your zero tolerance rule.
Mhm.
Like if you're tested positive, you're banned.
Yeah.
And out of all the testing or all the people that I've seen get caught in cycling, Chris Froome is the only person I have seen get off with a a lighter sentence for
Yeah.
his inhaler dosage being high or something like that, which was above the legal limit. But
Mhm.
yeah, they were getting ready to ban him. But USADA, USA Anti-Doping, was basically in a scheme that they caught a high level doper and basically kept him on the payroll or kept him in sport for almost up to 5 years. And we're talking Olympic level sporting events that were competed in. They didn't say what sport he did or she did,
Mhm.
or what he or she got popped for. But basically, they kept him in as a undercover sting, you know,
A
type
narc. Yeah.
informant type a
It's a narc.
narc, yeah,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
narc thing. So basically, but then they didn't release who this person was because they felt it would be it would be against or a safety issue for that person
Mhm.
because they allowed them to continue to compete. So imagine being, let's say, silver medal and 100-meter breaststroke,
Yeah.
and this person, the narc, was the person that beat you, but it was allowed to continue competing because
Right.
they were supplying USADA with information and
Mhm.
get a gold medal and never have that stripped from them because they were doing, work for USADA, which
Yeah.
is just, for me, that's just the sickening
Hey,
part of this
don't
whole thing.
well, they say don't hate the player, hate the game, Travis.
They don't ask you how, they ask you how many.
That's right. But I mean, seriously, it's absurd. I mean, I totally understand the concept of like incentives and plea deals and that sort of thing. I get it, but to effectively give this person full on amnesty of their
and it,
action,
and it wasn't just one, it
right?
was multiple
Right.
athletes so
Right.
that they could perform this bigger. Again, we haven't heard any repercussions of this big sting operation. you know,
Yeah, maybe they
not.
try to come out retroactively and like down the road somewhere, they come back and say, "Oh yeah, so and so, yeah, it was Travis who we had in this operation, so now we're gonna strip Travis of all of his medals." I doubt it. Like that's not gonna happen.
But again, like when you get to the end of the race, like
Yeah,
the race tactics play out on the race course,
right.
not
Right.
at the finish line.
Yeah.
So like if I'm enhanced and I'm racing Danny and
Mhm.
I'm making this move, and Danny ends up losing, like, well, Danny might have won if I was never even in the race,
That's right.
or he may have still come second, depending on,
Yeah.
the
But
way the tactics played out.
yeah.
So it's just like you're ruining the whole, it's just that form of it is just ridiculous to me that you would allow people that are known cheaters to continue in professional sport.
Mhm.
And that's where I just go back to, it's entertainment. Just relax, breathe, calm down. Like, don't throw the remote. Like,
Well, it is for us, but see, that's the thing, it is for us, but I mean, for that person that finished 2nd place and the
yeah.
person that finished 3rd place, and even the
And the
person that
whole
finished.
peloton behind them,
Yeah,
all the racers behind that, the person who doped, or
yeah,
even if, let's say, that guy wasn't, or guy or girl wasn't great at doping, and
mhm,
they got busted and they came in 53rd place. Well, 54th place, deserves some freaking recognition,
yeah, yeah, it's
So
it's just yeah, I mean, again, I think from a fan and observation, like the people observing the sport, it's easy for us to say, "Yeah, take a deep breath and just, this is all entertainment," but yeah, I really feel bad for the athletes, especially in an Olympic setting, knowing how many of those athletes truly are amateurs, for most sport. I mean, the exception of basketball and a few others. I mean, most of these people are true
they
amateurs.
work 9 to 5 jobs,
Yeah,
40 hours a week, and then they still have time
yeah,
to pour their passion into whatever they're doing.
yeah,
And a lot of them probably don't even get, most of them probably don't get paid for what they do. I mean, they probably get some sponsorship
sure.
deals, but some of them don't.
Yeah,
And they just do this because they love to, and they want to be the best, and they are the best.
yeah,
And the idea that somebody is not up, is cheating, is just, or allowed to cheat and continue to race, is
right,
just,
right.
it's, I think that's the worst thing that you can do as an organization, for sure. I don't care if you're
Yeah,
into finding the bigger fish. So what? Question that person, and let them know that the terms for them to come back to sport is to give all the names of every supplier and all that other stuff, and then chase it
mhm,
down that way,
yeah,
not continue them to be in the sport racing against other people,
right.
stripping them of, that
Yeah,
entitlement.
you can't go back and redo the finish of the race and the podium, the national anthem of your country being played. You can't go back and redo those things. So even if you try to go back and retroactively, strip medals and all of this, it just isn't. You've robbed the people of the experience and the fact that they should have won, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
You know,
it's uh, it's it's sad. It really is sad. Because what happens is it's these governing bodies
and to give you
are
an idea, really, of the amount of testing, that
yeah.
it's very pitiful. And we're going to do one sport, World Triathlon,
Okay.
in 2022. 1,317 people were tested. 82 were blood, so biological passport, and then 1,235 were urine. This is all in competition testing. So you go to a national level event, you're probably going
Mhm.
to get tested there.
Sure.
And then out of competition, out of all the world triathlon athletes, there was only 277 that were tested.
Hmm.
155 were blood, and 122 were urine out of competition.
Yeah.
So, when you see the numbers out of all the nationally ranked athletes out there, the pros, all this stuff, basically USADA and WADA kind of go by word of mouth, whether or not, they suspect someone of doping, or someone is cheating, or
Mhm.
someone's performance looks a little suspicious on that race. Like they they were training at this level, and then now they're training, over the course of a couple weeks, or training at this level.
Mhm.
That's usually how they end up testing people. They just don't have enough resources and money to test every single pro athlete out there
Right.
or nation state. I mean, heck, you're going to go to Uzbekistan and test, that triathlete. They're going to know you're there,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you got to fly in there and test them. So,
But again, I would still go back to there are ways, right? There are ways to profile the athletes. There are ways to maximize, limited resources. Um, I always bring it back to these are all problems that can be solved.
yeah.
These are not impossible problems to solve. They can be. If they want to solve them, they can. So
Well, I think this brings us to the discussion. This is the part where kind of me and you kind of agree is
right.
that I don't think they want to solve these problems.
Mm,
I feel like if you're a athlete that's kind of towing the line and walking the walk and is good for the sport, you're probably granted a little bit more leniency
mhm.
in whether or not you're getting tested or whether or not you're getting heads up. I mean, I've heard of accounts of sports directors getting a heads up that the tester's going to be in town. And so, a 24-hour notice, which is more than enough for most of these athletes to be testing clean in urine from any substance that they're taking.
Right.
So, and we just saw that out of competition, your chances of getting a blood test are very low.
Right.
You
There's
know,
probably as much money being spent avoiding or countermeasuring these tests as there is in the actual
oh,
testing.
I would say more because basically the test is only as good as what it tests for.
Mhm.
And if you can manufacture some kind of chemical that is bioidentical to what a normally is, well, you're not going to test hot for it. You're just going to test perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And then the amount of, again, I'm not to go into super pharmacological nerdism here, but it's another kind of light passion of mine is kind of researching like what this kind of stuff does. Well, people will take in order to test this kind of stuff, you have to do like what's called carbon counting, and basically you're getting the sample of that molecule and you're counting the number of carbon atoms in the molecule versus what's upstream and downstream of that, of the molecules, like let's say testosterone, and then it breaks down and all
Mhm.
that stuff. So you have to count, there should be the same number of carbon in every single chained molecule that goes to that as upstream and downstream. And so like that stuff is not cheap. It's
Yeah.
not like you can put that into your, iPhone 16 and it spits out a number. Like
Sure.
that stuff's not cheap. So that's very cost prohibitive for like USADA and WADA to do. So,
Yeah.
as long as you're ahead of the testing, you're never going to get caught. And I think that's what a lot of these, I'm not going to say that I'm implementing these guys, but I would say that some budget of your high team, a big team, is knowing whether or not your athletes are going to test
Yeah.
positive or not. I mean, that's a thing, because basically, if they were to test positive, it'd be a huge scandal. So
Sure.
I mean, you're probably doing some internal testing that's pretty close to what you know USADA and WADA are testing. So
I think about this, and to me, there's a clear division of, or at least in my opinion of this, between the professional level and amateur level. So on the professional side, at the top of this, we were talking about how professional sports generally are entertainment. They are not like I don't see many professional sports as a, a clean competition amongst who is the best. Now it plays out, I think, generally speaking, across all the different sport formats, like the championships generally land on the best team, the best athlete, and all of that. But I would not say that it automatically assumes that there's a clean competition along the way. But I
yeah,
do think you get to the best eventually with those formats. But so the challenge I have with this from a professional perspective is it is still an entertainment function. It is not, to me. I just don't see it as, the purity of it is not about finding out who is the best. Why not, from a professional perspective, just enable all of these things?
Well, I
a
mean,
why
they're
have a
talking about having an enhanced games. I mean, of
right?
just letting people just do whatever the heck they want and see what the maximum level of
Well, and
human performance could be.
yeah, and I don't I mean, I haven't put enough thought into it, I don't think, to have a well-informed opinion yet, but just naturally, just logically, my mind goes to why not have whether it be divisions, leagues, um, asterisks, I don't really care how you identify it, but if people wanna do these things, like, they know the risks, right? They're people. They can talk to their doctors, their physicians, their teams, and they can make a decision about what they wanna do to improve their performance, and if that includes taking these substances, then that's their choice in some regard. Now, when you bring it back to the fairness to the other competition, that's where I think, they should be tagged in some way, shape, or form. But there is a side of, I think, the sport where you just go, "Well, how fast can a cyclist climb that mountain on a bike?" I didn't say how fast can they climb it being a clean, perfectly natural human.
Right.
And or, and that's the other thing. It's like, where do you draw the lines on performance enhancing products? Because protein supplementation is performance enhancing. If it weren't, then
The
nobody would be doing it.
ability to eat carbohydrates while you're out on a long bike ride is
Right.
performance enhancing. Anyone
Right.
who's ran out of food
Knows
knows
that.
that you're
Mhm.
not winning anything.
That's right. So I get it. Like the boundaries of that are controlled by these organizations and these governing bodies. But those are still man-made boundaries and artificial boundaries just put in place supposedly to create a level playing field for the competition. Yet we find too many examples where that level playing field doesn't exist. So why are these governing bodies in place then?
Right.
And
Well,
and so I think, and if they, again, I come back to, if they don't want to solve the problem, then is it really a problem that needs to be solved?
I think there's part of it is what it kind of looks like, right? Like it's kind of like we just do enough to catch the most egregious people. And for the most part, let's say everybody's it's
Mhm.
I kind of think of like cycling kind of most of the time is like stock car racing. They're
Sure.
all kind of at some kind of level. And as
Yeah.
long as nobody is crazy above it, then they all
Yeah.
can kind of compete in that space.
Yeah.
Um, so, and they just kind of like let that kind of fly,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of things that you can do that are, again, they're not banned, but they're definitely unethical.
Yeah. But I still go back to, I think, from a professional perspective, on the professional side of it, there's too much there's too much incentive for these organizations, the professional organizations, sports organizations. Like, everybody just assumes that the revenue model is about the players and the activity and the sport of itself, but it's not. The revenue is about how much media engagement can I get? How much sponsorship money can I reel in? If
Yeah.
I can create a narrative and a storyline and drama that will bring more viewership, then I can attract more, retailers. I can attract more, sponsorships. I can get my social media pages and advertisers on those social media pages to a higher count. So it's not just about the sport. And I think that's the problem, and why I have a real issue with professional organizations as a whole, because I don't think they're as pure as people who watch them want them to be or think they are.
Right.
And if, again, I go back to, if they wanna solve these problems, whether it's cheating with banned substances or rules in a sports competition and interpretation of it, if they wanna solve these problems, they can and they will. I'm just not convinced they want to solve the problems, because there's money to be made off of not solving the problem.
Yep.
Now, where you run into a problem with that line of thinking is where cycling was during the Armstrong years, when nobody wanted to watch cycling anymore because they didn't know but that was really the viewership catching up to the reality.
Yep.
And what did they do? They promised to people they were gonna fix it. And
They're
what
going to
do they do?
clean it.
They're gonna clean the sport, and so for a few years, they hammered down on it, right? But now all of
Well,
a
they
sudden it's, "Oh, look, the technology's evolved," which it has evolved, but it comes back to, do you really want to solve the problem or not? Or are you
Right.
just waiting for the next time when, how many times did you see articles about, well, is Jonas cheating in some way, shape, or form because he was able to beat Tade?
Yeah.
Well, it's like, but I thought you guys said it was clean.
Yeah.
Which one is
I
it?
thought you worked so hard to make sure it's clean. So
Right.
either it's clean to your the best of your knowledge, or it's clean enough that you're not going to pursue it. Like I say, the
Mhm.
numbers just don't lie. Like they're just not testing enough, and they're just not doing enough. And the
Right.
thing is like, again, it's it's like a cycle. Just wait.
Yeah.
Here coming, in probably about 2 or 3 months,
Yeah.
there'll be a doping scandal come out. There'll be
Exactly.
somebody who got popped for doping. I
That's right.
guarantee it. It
Yeah.
happens almost every year.
That's right.
And like everybody's just, and then they'll go, see, the sport's safe. See,
Yeah.
it's all
Yeah.
safe now. See, we got that one guy. He was the
Yeah.
bad guy. And it's some dude that's like 35th overall.
Right.
You're like, that guy got busted for doping.
Right.
Like,
Right. But you mean to tell me the 34 ahead of them are all,
yeah,
maybe they are. Maybe they are. I
yeah.
don't
And
know.
they could be.
Excuse
But
me for having skepticism.
again, what does clean mean, right?
Right.
Clean means you're not getting caught. It's the Lance Armstrong defense. Well, I never got a positive drug test.
It's true.
It's just because you outsmarted the testers and you're testing
Yeah.
ahead of the curve. Yeah. So again,
But
by all means, by the measuring stick of of these governing bodies, he was clean.
So here's where I'll throw a little wrinkle here, because to me, all of these doping rules are just that. They are rules for the competition. So no different than you can't use a mechanical motor or electronic motor in your bike in a cycling competition. You can't use these substances. But if somebody finds a way to put an electrical motor in their bike and it can't be detected, and they can get away with it, they're doing the same thing everybody has done since the beginning of competition. They're finding the the most, they're trying to find anything they can to create an advantage over their competition without getting caught.
Yep.
And is it an ethical problem? Yeah, absolutely, it's an ethical problem. But that's not the question. The question is not, is it an ethical problem? The question is, did they break a rule and did they get caught? Because rules are broken in competition all the freaking time.
All the time. Yep.
All the time. And go to every single sport, in every single game, every single play, every single transactional event in that sport, and you will find an example where a rule was on the border or just slightly over the border of being broken. Every single interaction in the sport. And I don't care if you call it football and holding and pass interference, and hockey with a certain type of hit or a certain
offsides.
Offsides, right?
Yep.
You're always going to find something. It's just a matter of what gets caught.
Yep.
And so I don't know.
I kind of feel like if you're not getting caught, you're not really cheating, really. I mean, you're just like, I'm really not a big fan of the retroactive bans and all this other stuff. It's just,
and if
like,
you're not cheating, you're not trying hard enough. There's people who go with that.
Yeah. I mean, you have to be walking the line of that kind of stuff, right? Like, I mean, and a lot of times too, I think about it, it's like, you have these guys that'll spend $10,000 on a bike, $4,000 on a bike.
Yeah.
I mean, these drugs that are banned, they're not expensive.
Well, that goes to the other side. So we spend a lot of time on the pro side, but now go to the amateur side. And what you just said, it's like, so what are the reasons that an amateur goes down this path? And a lot of it is just like what you just said. They've already invested all this money in the equipment and the training and the coaches and everything needed to be successful. But there's that missing piece that they just don't have, whether it's the genetics,
the missing piece. That's an inside joke for us. We always say, like, man, if I was just faster, and then we'd be like, the missing piece.
Just plug it in. Just plug it in. So, but yeah, I think but that's exactly it. It's like if they're sitting there looking at that going, the financial side of it is not the concern for a lot of these people. No. So if I can spend a few $100 to get some testosterone replacement or something that will give me the advantage I'm looking for, I don't think no sane 30 or 40-year-old age grouper is thinking, oh my gosh, if I could just win these events, I'm going to go pro.
Yeah, exactly. If I were to rock up to the line, and I say this 100 times, if I were to win if I were to be be able to beat these tests and testing and just walk up to the line and beat and place highly in the pro field,
Mhm.
there is no way that a pro team or a even a high level amateur team is going to hire me to race bikes for them. Like it's just,
Sure. Sorry
they're
to
just like
yeah. Sure.
the optics on that is just no. Like
Not
where'd this
happening.
guy even come from? Like they're like you look at cycling, they don't want to have questions about this stuff.
Yeah.
Especially in or triathlon. It's like they don't want, 40-year-old juiced up guys,
Sure.
liver king level muscles just
Well
coming in
well,
and just
that's a really good example though, Travis.
yeah,
Like, that's the other side of this. It's n so what is the motivation then? Well, you just hit on a
social
big one,
media.
social media side. I mean, Instagram, and I don't do TikTok, but all these platforms are littered. There's an ash heap of people that claim to have all these secrets and these little 8-second viral clips that they can put out there to show the secret to training. And how many of them are just either juiced up on something or, otherwise. And what's the point? Well, the point is to get the clicks, to get the engagement. Whether they actually generate revenue off of that is a different story. I mean, I'm sure some do,
Yep,
but
it's
some of
I
it's just
think
about
I saw an infographic that said like per million views on Instagram, you're almost like I want to say like in the $50,000 range, maybe $80,000 you're
yeah,
making
yeah,
per million views. So
yeah. I mean, if you
that's
can, yeah, if you can generate that number of views and clicks and create money off of it, then that's the incentive, and that's what people want to be able to do. And so that's and quite frankly, I mean, I guess if that's what you want to do with your body and all of that, go for it. I'm not here to tell you you can't do it or shouldn't do it. I mean, it's just if you're going to go into a competition and then you're going to claim to beat everybody, then be honest about it. That's all. Because like Liver
yeah.
King, you brought that example up.
Yeah. I
He
mean, we
he
talk
totally
about
duped
him like
everybody. Yeah.
yeah, he was I just eat this liver and I'm just jacked to the gills and like I he's 10 years older than me and I'm like there is no way.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I mean all of us who know something knew that he was on something. And just the fact that he would just deny and say, "Oh no, I'm clean. I'm clean. I'm totally natural. This is totally natural." And I'm like, "Well, then you have a freak genetic
Yeah.
makeup that makes you able to retain that much muscle mass into
Yeah.
your 50s? Like, come on, bro.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
we should be testing you like getting your genome for the next, super soldiers,
Right.
going out there. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like
Figure out how to
but
replicate that. Yeah.
yeah, but it's just like, I mean, anyone who was worth their salt that knew anything about, enhancement and doping and stuff were like, yeah, that guy's doping. But the thing is he made millions of dollars
Mhm.
off of promoting his supplements and his diet and his lifestyle and just,
Yeah.
charlatan to the masses type thing. It's just
Yeah.
like, it's like, oh my gosh, guys,
Yeah,
you
and I
know?
think m I don't want I'm not gonna call anybody out, but I think there are cycling influencers and sport influencers in general, triathlete, anybody that's into personal fitness and training on these social media platforms. I think a lot of them, same thing. They pretend to sell you um, these secret techniques or whatever, and come to find out it's just a farce.
Yeah,
And so
so
I
guys,
mean,
I'm just gonna plug in here my super secret cycling brand. I was
right?
trying to hold up
Uh,
my notes for the episode, but my green screen's blocking it out. But yeah, so if you guys want to buy, a plan that's proven to make you, 10% faster. No, I'm just kidding.
right?
But I think again, you need to, and I think the problem is with our generation or people like us, like my kids are pretty good at spotting like phonies and
Sure.
just be like, oh, she's only showing that bikini for the money, like that type of stuff. I mean, I have two boys, come on, man.
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
hear you.
happy, I'm happy the girl has somewhat clothes on, for God's sakes, when I walk by. But yeah, like, they're a lot better at it than us. A lot of us are kind of believing in that, oh, there's some there, if I took oregano oil, then I would be able to, never be sick
Yeah,
again, and
right.
it would breathe this fountain of youth and all that stuff. And I see it more so like in my mom's generation, and then a little bit in our generation, and then not so much in
So
my
not
kids.
not related at all. Did you buy your refill of AG1 yet?
No,
Okay.
comes with hydrogen water. So again, and we'll get to this part too, but I'm like, guys, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. It definitely is. Trust me.
Hopefully that's
If
not new advice for people, but I mean, I think it all comes back to the point that there are motivations even for the amateurs to
Yep,
do these things.
to do these things,
It's not
yes.
just the competition side of it. And again, I come back to do I condone it? I don't. I don't condone it because as an amateur myself and have a family, I don't want to take those risks with my body. I don't I mean maybe if I just, found out that, hey, you can do all the replacement testosterone replacement you ever want. There's never a side effect. If that study ever came out, then maybe we'd have a different conversation. But I'm not so sure about the long-term problems with those types of things.
Yep.
And so maybe there's a point where I don't care about long-term problems associated, and maybe it's okay. But the the long and short of it is if you want to, I don't really care. If you're an amateur, I don't care. Just be upfront about it. Be honest about
Yeah.
it. And when you get into competition and at all these local events we do, nobody here tests for anything. I mean,
Yeah. Well,
there's
I mean,
probably
gravel's the Wild West. Like nobody
no,
tests.
absolutely. Yeah.
They don't test the amateurs. I mean, you can come in here just be an all out
Yeah.
freaking
A freak. Yeah.
monster
Yeah.
and just rip
So,
everything up. But the thing is none of us care. Like
right.
we again,
Yeah.
again, if I get beat by Danny tomorrow on a gravel race, I'm happy for him.
High
I'm
five each
not
other
like,
and
oh, I gotta beat him. Like, oh, it's on now. No, I'm so happy for him because I know how hard he worked. And when I win, or when I get on the podium or whatever, or I get a good standing in the race, like I got on the podium once, whatever.
yeah.
Like it only happened one time. I got this hoodie. Just saying. When I get to Serena level of being on the podiums, like,
Right.
like maybe I'll change my tune. But no,
Sure.
we're all happy for her. And, the thing is she's more happy that we had a great day than
Mhm.
she is that she got a good standing in the race.
Yeah, that's for sure. I
And
don't know
that,
that I was pretty pumped when I beat you in last Wednesday's interval training out on the run. I mean, because you're coming back from all this illness and I dominated you
I
those
know
many
you
intervals.
were getting scared though when I was starting to on the like fourth or fifth interval. I was catching up. I was starting to
Yeah.
feel pretty good, and you were
I was
like kind
like
of
looking over the
like
shoulder. I'm like,
yeah, getting.
oh,
He's
here,
like, oh god, is he coming back? What the hell, man?
to grab this next stick and trip him.
But
So
yeah, so like even us, we have motivations, right? And and we're talking about social media and all that stuff. We have motivations. Yes, we would love for this podcast to go
of
worldwide
course,
and
that'd be
whatever,
great.
and it would be fantastic. We'd still be the same lovable goofballs that
Sure.
hopefully all 100 people that listen to us probably it's probably just our parents just listen to it on repeat,
50
and
times
so
over.
yeah, 50 times over they create ghost accounts, but like all of you guys that listen to us, we'd all be the same lovable goofballs that you know and enjoy. We just, our passion, my passion, and Danny's too, is I would love to see more people outside doing stuff.
Right.
I just, I just see, I see that in my kids' generation of how many people. I mean, most of my, you know, hockey hockey parents that there's only a few of them that do like their kids do cross country running
Mhm.
or they do some other sport other than hockey. Like
Yeah.
I really want the next generation to understand how awesome riding a bike is and how awesome triathlon is. And I teach swimming for the youth, and I just try to make it as fun as possible so that they're engaged in these outdoor sports and
Yeah.
just being outdoors. Because when I was a kid, that was the biggest thing for me, was to be outside and be out in it. And that was the worst punishment I ever got when I was a kid, when I got grounded and sent to my room. And that was it. Like I was locked inside. It was the worst. I hated every minute of it. It
Yeah.
was the worst. I'm a big outside person. I love to be outside. So, my motivation and your motivation is just to grow the sport, grow this
Absolutely.
podcast in the next in the area as a resource that people can come to, laugh a little, be entertained, maybe learn something, hear about really cool races. That's kind of our, just to get on that soapbox of, what we're in it for.
why. Yeah.
We're not in it. I'm not in it to make $1 million here. Like, I understand. I don't have the face for it. Nobody's going to be lining up. My calves, since I've been sick, my OnlyFans is dried up on the calves front. So I'm all done with that. Feet are way too ugly from years of marathoning.
Yeah.
They are horrible. So like I said, my one best feature is now just dried up into a mush.
Yeah, that's too bad. Oh.
Yeah.
So your 3 subscribers over there are going to be disappointed.
Yeah. Thanks, Mom.
Next topic.
Yeah. So all right. So, if you made it this far, please remember, like, favorite, subscribe, tell your friends about how crazy this is. No,
there is something that gives me a little bit of hope, though. I was scrolling through one of our one of the Facebook groups earlier today, and there was somebody in one of the gravel events. I won't name it, but it's a very popular Midwest gravel event. And there's a person on that page who was like, they were asking questions about training for Boston Marathon, and then also doing Unbound 100 this year.
Nice.
Yeah, and to see the number of people that responded. Of course I put my response in there. I put about how we did 200 and then did 70.3 the following weekend, like a couple of nuts. And after I submitted that and sent that in, I noticed there were like 2 or 3 other people that put, I did. One person, I guess back in 22, did Unbound 200 and then did Ironman full in Des Moines the next week.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, nice. Nice.
Yeah, that's
pretty freaking good, So
I mean, you're already trained. I mean, 17-hour day is a 17-hour day. It doesn't matter.
That's right. It's just the
back to back. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, the fatigue on that. But then I was encouraged because there's other people out there like, I'm just trying to figure out how to balance like life with doing something like this gravel event. So of course I tagged our podcast because I think there's a lot of people out there that just don't know where to go to get information about this stuff. So I know today was about the doping side of it, and it's not to discourage people from participating.
And the reason I decided to do the doping stuff is I don't think it's talked about enough.
I don't think so either. Right.
And I'm not talking about it to promote it. I'm not. I really don't like doping. I don't want to ever, hopefully I never have to race against a doper.
Right.
And if I do, oh well, more power to him, whatever. Sure. If that's what you need to succeed in life, then go at it. A podium spot does not mean that much to me that I would sacrifice any of my health for that kind of stuff. I just think that it's not talked about, especially if you bring up doping in the pro ranks, or like you hear it like doping on a podcast from a pro, they just shut it down immediately. Yeah, they just don't talk about it. I don't want to be associated. I don't want to be associated with it. And it's just like, we're not associating with it, but we're just like, if you could tell us what you think some people are doing, that would be something that you could, be on the lookout for, right? Yeah. Like, it's not like every doper is coming up to the line with a needle in their ass, know?
But what's interesting though, is that there's not, so I think this is where the sport in general could use some really good investigative journalism. And, we don't have, like, you and I don't have the access to people to be able to do this, or else I'd be happy to do it. Like, yeah. But like where you could truly give somebody anonymity, but still get the honest assessment of what's going on. But to build that trust and to be able to have that conversation with somebody is really tough. But if you can get anonymity for people to where they could actually talk about what they see or what they know, like, I think that would at least, because then at least then you can find out, is it real? But the challenge with anonymity is people say anything because, well, it's anonymous, and I can feed you a spoonful of lies and you would never know. And so that's a part of the challenge too. But again, I come back to this whole thing there's 2 different ways to look at it. I want to really separate the pro side from the amateur side. And I think on the amateur side, again, it's not to discourage. It's just, this is our why here. Like, we're not in this to worry about that, like, to your point, if I have to compete against an age dope or whatever, I'm out here doing gravel events, man. I don't really care. I'm just out here.
Yeah, I care if I go a minute faster than I did the last time I did that course. Right. If I did, it's a win in my book. I'm podium number 1 for Travis. Team House Travis, we're number 1. Going home with the medal,
right?
The Star Spangled Banner playing in the background, like flags waving.
I just,
Like
I
that.
just, I just think it's wild, dude, when you see the folks that are just so self-consumed at an age group level that they're willing to do these things, this to go this far for what end? And I'm curious about that. But I don't know. Maybe there's some age group dopers out there that are listening to this and like totally disagree with everything we're saying. I'd love to hear from somebody that actually
Yeah.
condones it and does it, whether they want to publicly admit to it or not. I don't really care about that side of it, but I would
Yeah.
love to hear from somebody that actually does this. It's like, hey, you know what? This is why I do it, and this is like these are the reasons, and here's why I think it's okay. I'm not going to shame anybody. Who am I
Yeah,
to
I mean,
judge?
from
I'm
what
just curious.
I've heard from pro level athletes, that a lot of times they get in the mindset that they think everybody else is doping,
Sure.
and so they have to compete.
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's the way it is in the amateur level. And so I'm
No.
like, please do not think that you have to dope to compete at the
Right.
level. You can
Right.
be a completely 100% natural person and not have any performance enhancing drugs in you,
Right.
and still be highly competitive at this level.
That's right.
And a pro. I think you can do it as a pro. I think with the thing that I love about cycling and gravel racing and triathlon is it's especially these longer distance, the doping effects don't, I want to say, they don't enhance as much as you would think.
Yeah.
It's more of a mind game and of a tactical thing. You have to be smart about when you apply uh, your efforts, and so you can't just go out and just rail it from tape to tape. You have
Yeah.
to be smart about it, and so therefore, like, just because you're you know 7 watts per kilo doesn't mean you're going to win the race.
Yeah.
You're just going to be, you have to be smart about it. And so, like, there's that element of mental strength and fortitude in there. So
Yeah.
that's why I like the longer stuff.
For
But
sure.
yeah. So, I don't think everybody, like, again, I don't think this, again, to say the sport is 10% dirty or whatever is probably a low ball estimate. I would say that it's probably a little bit higher. I wouldn't say it's 80%, but I would say it's probably in the realm of 30%
Yeah.
would probably be good for, as far as professional and semi-professional athletes.
For sure.
So,
All right. So you ready to move into the rapid fire segment? This is good stuff. I love the
yeah.
rapid fire. This is my
All right,
favorite.
rapid fire. It's
Favorite
becoming
thing
my
ever.
favorite
Yeah.
section.
I know.
So,
I just love it. So for those of you who don't know, we like to ask ChatGPT to give us some questions about the topic of the day. So during the show, you might have noticed I kind of divert off to the side because I like to go over and have it check it while we're in the live broadcast. So I got a couple questions here, Travis. It came up.
yep. And the other part is that I don't know anything about these. He's just asking them, fire them
Yeah.
right off the hip, and my
Yeah.
answers are basically as fast as I can think of.
And honestly,
So,
I don't get enough time to even think about like how would I respond. So here we go.
yeah.
So, do fans secretly enjoy the drama of doping scandals? And is this fascination indirectly encouraging the behavior they claim to despise?
Yeah, I think any drama, what is that? It's like any publicity is good publicity.
Yep.
And so I think any kind of drama that you can beat up, and has engagement, has clicks. If every, at the end of every bike race, it was like, race went fine, everything was great. That was the headline. That was the headline. No one would click on it. Everybody would be like,
watch, right? Like
yeah, nobody's gonna watch it.
I'm like,
yeah, it was. We figured one of these guys was gonna win. One of them won. Good race. See y'all next week.
It's like all these athletes like are given coaching points on how to conduct the interview, and it's all done in a way so that it can create this like. Some are better than others, and some of them just ignore whatever advice their coaching points are.
I mean,
given,
how much did we love Peter Sagan when he would like rock up with like the full on like motorcycle goggles and just talk off the cuff? I mean, that's what we want. We want to hear that. And a lot of times we make fun of like, team did great today. We got some pucks in deep in the offensive zone, but we just couldn't hit the net. So, it just got to have a little bit better puck luck, but we'll be at it next week. Like those canned responses are just so.
Yeah, we didn't have our best game today. So maybe next game we'll have our best game and we can win the game. Oh, yeah, that's a great. Really
Yeah, we had a
insightful.
lot of
Thank you.
challenges today at just moving the ball forward, and so just the offense is just got to make some plays, and defense did really good at stopping them, but our offense once we get better at moving the balls, we'll get more touchdowns and we'll win more games.
Just didn't have the legs today. He had the legs today. I didn't have the legs today, and so maybe tomorrow I'll have some legs. Like,
Yep.
yeah,
Legs
great.
felt a little flat today, and maybe tomorrow I'll have better leg sensations.
So is the line between legal performance enhancement, so like things like altitude tents, supplements, these types of things, are the lines between those and doping so blurred that punishing athletes is hypocritical?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
and
it's
I
very
agree.
blurred. I mean, you can breathe in. I mean, this is what Tade had a scandal about this year is CO2
Yeah.
inhalation. So
Mhm.
basically, what happens, and for all I'm just going to tell you how it is. So there's a certain level of CO2 and oxygen and nitrogen in the air, and what you do is you put on a mask and you change the levels of nitrogen and CO2, and you breathe a little bit more CO2, or you
Try to
breathe
get
a little
that
bit less
adaptation. Mhm.
little bit less oxygen. And what it does is it forces your body thinks it is it needs
Suffocating.
to suffocating because it is. And so what it tells your body to do, it says, hey, we need to produce more red blood cells because we need to deliver more oxygen to the muscles because for whatever reasons we're not doing it. And so your body, it's basically like shooting yourself with
Yeah.
EPO
Yeah.
and just producing more red blood cells. Now, do I suggest that you do that? No, because you're basically
Probably not.
starving yourself of oxygen,
Yeah.
and without somebody there or a doctor or all that other stuff, like you could suffocate and
Yeah.
die.
Yeah.
So that's your risk of doing that kind of stuff. So death. So please
Nice.
don't do it.
Don't do that. Yeah.
Please don't do that. So, but
One
yeah.
star, do not recommend.
Yeah, but I
Um,
think me and you talk about this. I think we talked about this on the long run today. Last weekend
yeah.
was, you have football players that get popped for testosterone. They're suspended for a month.
Yeah.
You have cyclists who get popped for, let's say, HGH. They're suspended for 2 years.
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah.
I just
Sense.
or they get some kind of Sudafed induced, they had a cold, they finished 35th,
Right.
they get popped, they're suspended for a year.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Does it
I'm
I don't
like,
know.
do we really need to suspend these guys? Like, the crime does. I think the fact that he's a known doper is a worse crime than it can be for
That's
them
the
to just
punishment.
suspend him.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
punishment is just basically now
He's out.
everybody knows
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
he's out, and so they'll question. I think it's more befitting for him to continue racing and then have to face the allegations every single interview. I
Yeah.
think that's a way better punishment than just giving him 2 years to continue to dope and then come back strong or do whatever he's doing. I don't know if he's doping while he's off, but whatever. So
So here's some that are more on the amateur side.
okay.
This is actually we probably covered some of this one today. So if age so this is more on the provocative side. So if age groupers aren't racing for money or fame, what pathetic insecurities drive them to cheapness in a sport meant to promote personal growth? What are the
Well,
what pathetic insecurity is driving you to this, Travis?
I'm just not good enough. No, I think I think I can be better. Is my insecurity, and
Yeah.
I still believe that. And so, but the reason why I don't dope is the fact that if I am better than I was, then it's all the drugs
Yeah.
thing, and that I just can't live with that. I just can't go to the mat and just go, oh, I'm better. I'm not better because I'm better. I'm better because the drugs help me be better. And I just no, I have to be better in my own right. Like I
Yeah.
have to be better. So that's where I come from. And
Yeah.
so like people dope for their own reasons. They want to be the best in their area. They want the recognition of like, oh, that's Danny. He
Yeah.
like won this race last year and he's back again and like
Yeah.
oh he's
Yeah.
like a
It's
lot like
Ola. Yeah.
people think that you're gonna be like instantly recognizable on the street,
Mm.
for winning
Yeah.
Unbound, you know,
No, not
like
happening. I can't even tell you
again
who won it
out of
last year.
out of
Yeah.
the people's champion, Lachlan Morton.
No. I'm talking about the
Oh,
amateur.
the
The
amateur.
amateur.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. I forgot his name already. I
Right.
looked him up and I was like, "Where'd you come from?" And
Right.
then
Right.
he's some 50-year-old guy though. He's won some races before.
Strong guy.
Check it out. Strong guy. I
Yeah.
mean,
So yeah, I
again,
mean, but again, I don't like to the
I
extent
don't. He's. I think
who they are.
Jumbo Visma was looking at signing him, but then they found out he was 55 and was like,
So
nah.
so do age groupers who dope truly care about their own health, or are they just so obsessed with Instagram results and vanity that they're too willing to sacrifice their longevity for temporary glory?
Oh, so I think this. If
That's a
you're
vanity
if
side.
definitely if you're a person that is doping, you're very concerned about the now,
The image.
about
Yeah.
right now, the image,
Yeah.
what you can do right now. You know, I just think that's a
So so that
all
kind
of
of
that.
leads into the second one then. Are age group athletes, are they doping because they're delusional about their potential, such as like chasing dreams of Kona or podiums that they'd never achieve naturally? Is it just about chasing a delusional outcome? Is that really what this is?
No, because I think the level, well, depending on the level of doping that you're doing,
Yeah.
I think it's like age group athletes, you're pressed for time, right? You have a
Yeah.
40-hour job, you have kids, you have other commitments. I see people doping at the age group level, not as a like performance enhancement, as a recovery enhancement. They want to do the 40-hour job. They want to be present for their
Yeah.
kids, violin recital. They want to train like 15 hours a week on the bike, and they want to perform or recover better. So I just see them doing that kind of stuff to be
You
just to
know,
be able to recover more,
y
to get better gains with the limited time that they have.
yeah, you bring up a really good, situation that we didn't really get into too much, but, so I do know somebody that has taken testosterone, like HGH for their testosterone, but I've seen
Hmm.
I do know somebody, but they did it not for competition. They don't do cycling or anything like that, but they did it because they just wanted to like
Feel better.
they lift weight. Yeah, they lift
Yeah.
weights and they wanted to lose some weight and they wanted to feel better and the recovery side of it. And so that's actually an aspect of this that is, we didn't really get into is like there are people that actually see it as a therapy, right? Or whatever. You could say it's a therapy for a physical or mental side of it. Doesn't matter how you want to look at it, but the point is they see it as more of therapeutic than it is for a competition gain.
Yeah.
And so, and that's where again, the whole thing gets blurred when you start talking about the age grouper side of it, because what's the motivation there? Well, the motivation there is because I want to recover because I really enjoy doing 7-hour bike rides every single day. And that's my passion. And that's what I want to do. And I don't really care
Yeah.
about the competition and all this. I just want to do the, it's like that's why it's such a really tough topic because the motivations are different for different types of people, and so while by the letter of the law they would never pass a anti-doping situation,
No.
doesn't really matter, does it? Because that's not what they're in it for,
Yep.
and so they're willing to take on those risks and do those things. I just don't understand when you take it to the competition side. That's the piece that I really struggle with. So,
Yeah, it may just be because I've never. I mean, you've been in competitive baseball like that
mhm,
and stuff.
yeah,
Like, I've been the highest I've ever achieved is like second at state soccer. So like, I'm not an elite level athlete for sure.
mhm,
And I've played musical instruments for like the majority of my life.
yeah,
I'm fairly okay at that. But it's like you don't take, would you see heroin as a performance enhancement in like music? Like, some of the
well,
best music has been from some heroin addicts and stuff like that. So like, I feel like, as you were saying, like therapeutically, again, if your reason is to just enjoy the sport, then do what you got to do, man.
yeah,
I'm not here to
not
judge you.
not here to
If
judge
you beat
anybody.
me, I'm going to
Yeah,
be just as happy as if you
yeah,
didn't. I just, you know,
yeah. Well, the difference
but
I think there is
if
that,
you're going for winning or clicks and likes and all that other stuff, you're doing it for the wrong reason. And I
yeah,
think eventually, and you see that with Lance, the early days after after if you watch the Oprah and then
mhm,
you see the fallout from all that. Now, like you listen to him, he's very apologetic for the
yeah.
Lance he was. But you could see that he was a hurt person, and he was trying to fill that hurt with winning all these titles. And it never fills the void if you can't do it off of, like, it's going to be found out eventually. You're going to be found out. So
it's a matter of time.
So like I might as well just, and my wife always says I'm a horrible liar. And so I just try not to lie. So I'm not one person who lies. I believe in the truth, and, and you just kind of, the facts are the facts, and sometimes the truth hurts, and that's just the way it is. And so I'd rather be upfront about it than something that, you just have to, kind of feel bad about achieving your goals. So
cool.
Got anything else?
That's it for today, man. So
all right, guys.
Yeah.
Well, that was a good one. Yeah, definitely. If you're, if you think we're completely out of our minds, please let us know in the comments or whatever. I hope it didn't ruin the sport for you. Like I said, just remember, this is all entertainment. This is all for fun. This is all for, do sport. If you're doing sport, don't think about how other people are cheating around you. Just think about how you can do better, and you're going to have a much better relationship with sport than you would if you, thought about if your results matter. Because like I tell all my athletes, the results nobody looks at your results of your Ironman except, your coach. That's it.
Yeah.
And maybe your friends. Those are the only people who cares. Sally at dinner does not care about your, third place finish at.
Yeah. They're just impressed you showed up and you finished it. That's good enough.
So just be cognitive of that part of the sport. And again, the pros, entertainment value. If it's entertaining, then they're doing a good job. So, all right. Again, thanks everyone for listening. Thanks, Mom, if you're listening. And we'll talk to you guys later. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Please, if you like what we are doing here, leave a like, rate us, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends. It really helps us grow and finds us more Suffer Sooner squad mates. And remember, when the finish line feels impossibly far away, we don't give up, we push harder, we dig deeper, and we find solace in the knowledge that our suffering is temporary and our resilience is forever.